Welcome to my channel, everyone. Good morning, everybody. This is Trev from Trevescent, and today we are on the last leg of the book Spare, written by Prince Harry. It has been my absolute pleasure reading this book for us, and I hope, as much as I enjoy reading it to you, you all enjoyed listening to it. I want to say thanks to all the new subscribers into the channel and to all my returning travelers. I want to say thank you for your continued support. Everybody have been so supportive and I sincerely appreciate it. And to all the silent listeners, those who stay on the outside and listen, but never say a word in the chat, never comment. You are the real OGs as well. You know that. I sincerely appreciate your support. So today we are going to continue the reading. We are on to chapter around 87 of part 3. And this is 98% of the book. So without further ado, let's get on with it. But before I jump over into chapter 87, which is the last chapter, I just want to savor some of this story and not just jump off just now. I want to read chapter 86 again. Should I or should I not? I want to read chapter 86 again. All right, let's do it. Chapter 86 of part 3. Hours after Grandpa's funeral, I'd been walking with Willie and Pa for about half an hour, but it felt like one of those day-long marches the army put me through when I was a new soldier. I was beat. We had reached an impasse, and we had reached the Gothic ruin. After a circuitous route, hey Tony, what's up? How are you doing? Good to see you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. After a circuitous route, we had arrived back where we had begun. Pa and Willie were still claiming not to know why I'd left Britain, still claiming not to know anything, and I was getting ready to walk away. Then one of them brought up the press. They asked about my hacking lawsuit. They still hadn't asked about Meg, but they were keen to know how my lawsuit was going because that directly affected them. Still going, still ongoing. Suicide mission, Pa mumbled. Maybe, but it's worth it. I'd soon prove that the press were more than liars, I said, that they were lawbreakers. I was going to see some of them thrown into jail. That was why they were attacking me so viciously. They knew I had hard evidence. It wasn't about me. It was a matter of public interest. Shaking his head, Pa allowed that journalists were the scum of the earth. His phrase, but I snorted. There was always a but with him when it came to the press, because he hated their hate. But oh, how he loved their love. One could make the argument that therein lay the seeds of the whole problem, indeed, all problems, going back decades. Deprived of love as a boy, bullied by schoolmates, he was dangerously, compulsively drawn to the elixir they offered him. He cited Grandpa as a sterling example of why the press wasn't anything to get too vexed about. Poor Grandpa had been abused by the papers for most of his life. But now, look, he was a national treasure. The papers couldn't say enough good things about the man. So that's it? That's it then? Just wait till we are dead and we'll all be sorted. If you could just endure it, darling boy, for a little while, in a funny way, they'd respect you for it. I laughed. All I'm saying is, don't take it personally. Speaking of taking things personally, I told them I might learn to endure the press and even forgive their abuse. I might, but my own family's complicity, that was going to take longer to get over. Pa's office, Willie's office, enabling these fiends. if not outright collaborating. Meg was apparently a bully. That was the latest vicious campaign they had helped to orchestrate. It was so shocking, so egregious, that even after Meg and I demolished their lie with a 25-page evidence filled report to Human Resources, I was going to have trouble simply shrugging that one off. Pa stepped back. Willie shook his head. They began talking over each other. We have been down this road 100 times, they said. You are delusional, Harry. But they were the delusional ones. Even if, for the sake of argument, I accepted that Pa and Willie and their staff had never done one overt thing against me or my wife, their silence was an undeniable fact. And that silence was damning and continuing and heart-rending. Whoa, people coming in the chat. Good morning, family. Good morning, everybody in the chat. Oh, my hippies here. Good morning, mi amor. Winsome is here. Good morning, Winsome. All right, Tanny's in the place. Welcome, welcome. Sis Ray Grant is in the place. How you doing, Grant? What's up? Happy Sunday to you all, everybody. Yes, guys, I am rereading chapter 86 because I just want to savor the moment a little while longer. So bear with me. Let us continue. Pa said, you must understand, darling boy, the institution can't just tell the media what to do. Again, I yelped with laughter. It was like Pa saying he couldn't just tell his valet what to do. Willie said I was a fine one to talk about cooperating with the press. What about my chat with Oprah? A month earlier, Meg and I had done an interview with Oprah Winfrey. Days before it aired, those Meg is a bully stories started popping up in the papers. What a coincidence. Since leaving Britain, the attacks on us had been increasingly exponential. We had to try something to make it stop. Being silent wasn't working. It was only making it worse. We felt we had no choice. Several close mates and beloved figures in my life, including one of you and Emily's sons, Emily herself, and even Tiggy, had chastised me for Oprah. How could you reveal such things? They asked. About your family. I told them that I failed to see how speaking to Oprah was any different from what my family and their staff had been, had been doing for decades, briefing the press on the sly, planting stories. And what about the endless books on which they had cooperated, starting with Pa's 1994 crypto autobiography with Jonathan Dembly, on Camilla's collaborations with the editor Gorgie Grigg. The only difference was that Meg and I were upfront about it. We chose an interviewer who was above reproach. And we didn't once hide behind phrases like palace sources. We let people see the words coming out of our mouths. Oh my God. Or you should come over more often, all this love. Well, at least you realized it before I told you so. I looked at the Gothic ruin. What's the point? I thought. Pa and Willie weren't hearing me, and I wasn't hearing them. They had never had a satisfactory explanation for their actions and inactions, and never would, because there was no explanation. I started to say goodbye, good luck, take care, but Willie was really steaming, shouting that if things were as bad as I made out, then it was my fault for never asking for help. You never come to us. You never come to me. Since boyhood, that had been Willie's position on everything. I must come to him. Pointedly, directly, formally, bend the knee. Otherwise, no aid from the hair. I wondered why I should have to ask my brother to help when my wife and I were in peril. If we were being mauled by a bear and he saw, would he wait for us to ask for help? I mentioned the Sandringham agreement. I'd asked for his help about that. when the agreement was violated, shredded, when we were stripped of everything, and he hadn't lifted a finger. That was Granny. Take it up with Granny. I waved a hand, disgusted, but he lunged at me, grabbed my shirt. Listen to me, Harold. I pulled away, refused to meet his gaze. He forced me to look into his eyes. Listen to me, Harold. Listen. I love you, Harold. I want you to be happy. The words flew out of his mouth. I love you too, but your stubbornness is extraordinary. And yours isn't? I pulled away again. He grabbed me again, twisted me to maintain eye contact. Harold, you must listen to me. I just want you to be happy, Harold. I swear on Mommy's life. He stopped. I stopped. Pa stopped. He'd gone there. He had used the secret code, the universal password. Ever since we were boys, those three words were to be used only in extreme of circumstances. On Mommy's life, for nearly 25 years, we had reserved that soul crushing vow for times when one of us needed to be heard, to be believed quickly, for times when nothing else would do. It stopped me cold, as it was meant to, not because he had used it, but because it didn't work. I simply didn't believe him, didn't fully trust him, and vice versa. He saw it too. He saw that we were in a place of such hurt and doubt that even those sacred words couldn't set us free. How lost we are, I thought. How far we have strayed. How much damage has been done to our love, our bond, and why? All because a dreadful mob of dweebs and crones and cutthroat criminals and clinically diagnosable sadists along Fleet Street feel the need to get their jollies and plump their profits and work out their personal issues by tormenting one very large, very ancient, and very dysfunctional family. Willie wasn't quite ready to accept defeat. I felt properly sick and ill after everything that happened, and and I swear to you now on Mommy's life that I just want you to be happy. My voice broke as I told him softly, "Ah, I really don't think you do." My mind suddenly flooded with memories of our relationship, but one in particular was crystalline. Willie and I, years before in Spain, a beautiful valley, the air glittering with that uncommonly clear Mediterranean light, the two of us kneeling behind the green canvas wall as the first hunting horn sounded, lowering our flat caps as the first partridges burst towards us. Bang, 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 a few falling, handing our guns to the loaders, who handed us new ones. Bang, 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 more falling, passing our guns back, our shirts darkening with sweat, the ground filling with birds that would feed nearby villages for weeks. Bang, one last shot, neither of us able to miss. Then standing at last, drenched, starved, happy, because we were young and together, and this was our place, our one true space, away from them and close to nature. It was such a transcendent moment that we turned and did that rarest of things. We hugged. We really hugged. But now I saw that even our finest moments and my best memories somehow involved death. Our lives were built on death, our brightest days shadowed by it. Looking back, I didn't see spots, I didn't see spots of time, but dances with death. I saw how we stepped ourselves in it. We christened and crowned, graduated and married, passed out and passed over our beloved bones. Windsor Castle itself was a tomb, the walls filled with ancestors. The Tower of London was held together with the blood of animals, used by the original builders 1,000 years ago to temper the mortar between the bricks. Outsiders called us a cult, but maybe We were a death cult. And wasn't that a little bit more depraved? Even after laying Grandpa to rest, had we not had our fill? Why were we here, lurking along the edge of that undiscovered country from whose bourne no travelers return? Though maybe that's a more apt description of America. Willie was still talking. Pa was talking over him, and I could no longer hear a word they said. I was already gone, already on my way back to California. A voice in my head saying, enough death, enough. When is someone in this family going to break free and live? When is someone in this family gonna break free and live? Now let's move on to chapter 87. It was slightly easier this time, maybe because we were an ocean away from the old chaos and stress. When the big day came, we were both surer, calmer, steadier. What bliss, we said, not having to worry about timing, protocol, journalists at the front gate. We drove calmly, sanely to the hospital, where our bodyguards once again fed us. This time they brought burgers and fries from In and Out, and fajitas from a local Mexican restaurant for Meg. We ate and ate and ate, and then did the baby mama dance around the hospital room. Nothing but joy and love in that room. Oh my God. Wow. Welcome, guys. Guys, hit the like button, share out the stream. Come on now. You know I love you all just as much as you love me. So do the right thing. Still, after many hours, Meg asked the doctor when. Soon, very close. This time, I didn't touch the laughing gas because there was none. I was fully present. I was with Meg through every push. When the doctor said it was a matter of minutes, I told Meg that I wanted mine to be the first face our little girl saw. We knew we were having a daughter. Meg nodded, squeezed my hand. Ah! I went and stood beside the doctor. We both crouched down, as if about to pray. The doctor called out, the head is crowning. Crowning, I thought. Incredible. The skin was blue. I worried the baby wasn't getting enough air. Is she choking? I looked at Meg. One more push, my love. We are so close. Here, here, the doctor said, guiding my hands right there. A scream, then a moment of pure liquid silence. It wasn't, it wasn't, as sometimes happens, that past and future were suddenly one. It was that the past didn't matter and the future didn't exist. There was only this intense presence. And then the doctor turned to me and shouted, now. I slid my hands under the tiny back and neck, gently but firmly, as I'd seen in films. I pulled our precious daughter from that world into this and cradled her just a moment, trying to smile at her, to see her. But honestly, I couldn't see anything. I wanted to say hello. I wanted to say, where have you come from? I wanted to say, is this a better place? I wanted to say, was it better there? Is it peaceful? Are you frightened? Don't be. Don't be, darling. All will be well. I'll keep you safe. Isn't that what every little girl wants to hear from their daddy? Or every child wants to hear from their daddy? I'll keep you safe. I surrendered. I surrendered her to Meg, skin to skin, the nurse said. Later, after we had brought her home, after we had settled into all the new rhythms of a family of four, Meg and I were skin to skin. Skin to skin. That's how I wanna hold you close. Y'all remember that song, guys? All right, Trev, get a hold of yourself now. I Later, after we had brought her home, After we had settled into all the new rhythms of a family of four, Meg and I were skin to skin, and she said, I've never been more in love with you than in that moment. Really, really. She jotted some thoughts in a kind of journal which she shared. I read them as a love poem. I read them as a testament, a renewal of our vows. Oh my gosh, guys. I read them as a citation, a remembrance, a proclamation. I read them as a decree. She said, that was everything. She said, that is a man. My love, she said, that is not a spare. Oh my gosh, guys. Y'all believe the book finished? Oh my Lord, the book is done, guys. And I don't know about you all, but I'm on a high. I don't want this book to end, but there it is. We're going to read the epilogue anyway. Anyway, so Lilibet has been born. So now they've gone from just the two of them to four. Now they have a little boy, Archie, and now they have the little girl. And they didn't say it here, but we know that the little girl's name is Lilibet, Elizabeth, just like her great grandmother. Let's just read the epilogue. I helped Meg into the boat. It wobbled, but I quick stepped to the middle, got it righted in time. As she found a seat in the stern, I took up the oars. They didn't work. We're stuck. The thick mud of the shallows had us in its grip. Uncle Charles came down to the water's edge, gave us a little shove. We waved to him and to my two aunts. Bye. See you in a bit. Gliding across the pond, I gazed around at Althorp's rolling fields and ancient trees, the thousands of green acres where my mother grew up, and where, though things weren't perfect, she had known some peace. Minutes later, we reached the island and gingerly stepped onto the shore. I led Meg up the path, around, around a edge, through the labyrinth. There it was, looming, the greyish white oval stone. No visit to this place was ever easy, but this one, 25th anniversary, and Meg's first time. At long last, I was bringing the girl of my dreams home to meet my mom. We hesitated, hugging, and then I went first. I placed flowers on the grave. Meg gave me a moment, and I spoke to my mother in my head, told her I missed her, asked her for guidance and clarity. Feeling that Meg might also want a moment, I went around the edge, scanned the pond. When I came back, Meg was kneeling, eyes shut, palms against the stone. I asked, as we walked back to the boat, what she had prayed for. Clarity, she said, and guidance. The next few days were given over a whirlwind work trip. Manchester, Dusseldorf, then back to London for the Well Child Awards. But that day, September 8th, 2022, a call came in around lunchtime. Unknown number. Hello. It was Pa. Granny's health had taken a turn for the worst. She was up at Balmoral, of course. Those flowers, those beautiful, melancholy late summer days. He hung up. He had many other calls to make, and I immediately texted Willie to ask whether he and Kate were flying up. If so, when and how? No response. Meg and I looked at flight options. The press started phoning. We couldn't delay a decision any longer. We told our team to confirm we'd be missing the Well Child Awards and hurrying up to Scotland. Then came another call from Pa. He said I was welcome at Balmoral, but he didn't want her. What a son of a gun! What a son of a gun! So Harry was welcomed, but not his wife. He started to lay out his reasons, which was nonsensical and disrespectful, and I wasn't having it. Don't ever speak about my wife that way. He stammered, apologetic, saying he simply didn't want a lot of people around. No other wives were coming. Kate wasn't coming, he said. Therefore, Meg shouldn't come. Then that's all you needed to say. But now it was mid-afternoon. No more commercial flights that day to Aberdeen, and I still had no response from Willie. My only option, therefore, was a charter out of Luton. I was on board 2 hours later. I spent much of the flight staring at the clouds, replaying the last time I'd spoken with Granny, 4 days earlier. Long chat on the phone. We had touched on many topics. Her health, of course, the turmoil at number 10, the Braemar Games. She was sorry about not being well enough to attend. We talked about how the biblical we talked also about the biblical drought. The lawn at Frogmore, where Meg and I were staying, was in terrible shape. Looks like the top of my head, Granny, balding and brown in patches. She laughed. I told her to take care. I looked forward to seeing her soon. As the plane began to descend, my phone lit up. A text from Meg. Call me the moment you get this. I checked the BBC website. Granny was gone. Pa was king. I put on my black tie, walked off the plane into a thick mist, sped in a borrowed car to Balmoral. As I pulled through the front gate, it was wetter and pitch dark, which made the white flashes from the dozens of cameras that much more blinding. Hunched against the cold, I hurried into the foyer. Aunt Anne was there to greet me. I hugged her. Where's Pa and Willie? And Camilla? Gone to Birkhall, she said. She asked if I wanted to see Granny. Yes, I do. She led me upstairs to Granny's bedroom. I braced myself, went in. The room was dimly lit, unfamiliar. I'd been inside it only once in my life. I moved ahead uncertainly, and there she was. I stood, frozen, staring. I stared and stared. It was difficult, but I kept on, thinking how I'd regretted not seeing my mother at the end. Years of lamenting that lack of proof, postponing my grief for want of proof. Now I thought, proof. Careful what you wish for. I whispered to her that I hoped she was happy, that I hoped she was with Grandpa. I said that I was in awe of her carrying out her duties to the last. The Jubilee, the welcoming of a new Prime Minister. On her 90th birthday, my father had given a touching tribute, quoting Shakespeare on Elizabeth I. No day without a deed to crown it. Ever true. I left the room, went back along the corridor, across the tartan carpet, past the statue of Queen Victoria. Your Majesty. I rang Meg, told her I'd made it, that I was okay, then walked into the sitting room and ate dinner with most of my family, though still no Pa, no Willie, or Camilla. Towards the end of the meal, I braced myself for the bagpipes, but out of respect for Granny, there was nothing. An eerie silence. The hour getting late, everyone drifted off to their rooms except me. I went on a wander, up and down the stairs, the halls, ending up at the nursery. The old-fashioned basin, the tub, everything the same as it had been 25 years ago. I passed most of the nighttime I passed most of the nighttime traveling in my thoughts while trying to make actual travel arrangements on my phone. The quickest way back would have been a lift with Pa or Willie. Barring that, it was British Airways, departing Balmoral at daybreak. I bought a seat and was among the first to board. Soon after settling into a front row, I sensed a presence on my right. Deepest sympathies, said a fellow passenger before heading down the aisle. Thank you. Moments later, another presence. Condolences, Harry. Thanks very much. Most passengers stopped to offer a kind word, and I felt a deep kinship with them all. Our country, I thought, our queen. Meg greeted me at the front door of Frogmore with a long embrace, which I desperately needed. We sat down with a glass of water and a calendar. Our quick trip would now be an odyssey. Another 10 days at least, difficult days at that. More, we'd have to be away from the children for longer than we had planned, longer than we had ever been. When the funeral finally took place, Willie and I barely exchanged a word, took our familiar places, set off on our familiar journey, behind yet another coffin draped in the royal standard, sitting atop another horse-pulled gun carriage. Same route, same sights, though this time, unlike at previous funerals, we were shoulder to shoulder. Also, music was playing. When we got to St. George's Chapel, amid the roar of dozens of bagpipes, I thought of all the big occasions I'd experienced under that roof. Grandpa's farewell, my wedding, even the ordinary times, simple Easter Sundays, felt especially poignant. The whole family alive and together. Suddenly, I was wiping my eyes. Why now? I wondered. Why? The following afternoon, Meg and I left for America. For days and days, we couldn't stop hugging the children, couldn't let them out of our sight, though I also couldn't stop picturing them with Granny. The final visit, Archie making deep, chivalrous bows, chivalrous bows, his baby sister Lilibet cuddling the monarch's shin. Sweetest children, Granny said, sounding bemused. She'd expected them to be a bit more American, I think, meaning in her mind more rambunctious. Now, while overjoyed to be home again, doing drop-offs again, reading Giraffes can't stop dance again, I couldn't stop remembering. Day and night, images flitted through my mind. Standing before her during my passing out parade, shoulders thrown back, catching her half smile. Stationed beside her on the balcony, saying something that caught her off guard and made her, despite the solemnity of the occasion, laugh out loud. Leaning into her ear so many times, smelling her perfume as I whispered a joke, kissing both cheeks at one public event, just recently placing a hand lightly on her shoulder, feeling how frail she was becoming, making a silly video for the first Invictus Games, discovering that she was a natural comedian. People around the world howled and said they had never suspected she possessed such a wicked sense of humor. But she did. She always did. That was one of our little secrets. In fact, in every photo of us, whenever we are exchanging a glance, making solid eye contact, it's clear we had secrets. Special relationship. That's what they said about us. And now I couldn't stop thinking about the specialness that would no longer be, the visits that wouldn't take place. Oh, well, I told myself, that's just the deal, isn't it? That's life. Still, as with so many partings, I just wished there'd been one more goodbye. Soon after our return, a hummingbird got into the house. I had a devil of a time guiding it out, and the thought occurred that maybe we should start shutting the doors, despite those heavenly ocean breezes. Then a mate said, "Could be a sign, Harold." Some cultures see hummingbirds as spirits, he said, visitors, as it were. Aztecs thought them reincarnated warriors. Spanish explorers call them resurrection birds. You don't say! I did some reading and learned that not only are hummingbirds visitors, they are voyagers, the lightest birds on the planet and the fastest. They travel vast distances from Mexico winter homes to Alaska nesting grounds. Whenever you see a hummingbird, what you're actually seeing is a tiny glittering Odysseus. So, naturally, when this hummingbird arrived and swooped around our kitchen and flitted through the sacred airspace we call Lilyland, where where we had set up the baby's playpen with all her toys and stuffed animals, I thought hopefully, greedily, foolishly, Is our house a detour or a destination? For half a second, I was tempted to let the hummingbird be, let it stay, but no. Gently, I used Archie's fishing net to scoop it from the ceiling, carried it outside. Its legs felt like eyelashes, its wings like flower petals. With cupped palms, I set the hummingbird on the wall in the sun. Goodbye, my friend. Be it, but it just lay there, motionless. No, I thought, no, not that. Come on, come on, you are free. Fly away. And then, against all odds and all expectations, that wonderful, magical little creature bestirred itself and did just that. Guys, that is the end of the book Spare, written by Prince Harry. I absolutely enjoyed reading that book for us, guys, and I hope you all enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed reading it. That was a great read, guys. Thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for tuning in every morning for the last month to listen as I read this book. I am absolutely fascinated with it. I sort of, I don't do royalty, but I kind of fell in love with Harry and Meghan after reading this book. I don't know about the rest of it, but I just get this feeling of almost like camaraderie between us since I read the book. Oh my gosh! And I want to thank you all guys for coming in, for tuning in, for staying in, for listening. I must tell you guys, yesterday, my friend in London texted me and said, Trev, you are something else. I was listening to you read the Harry book while I was driving to work. And I said, I have to go back and listen to you read the rest of it. I said, well, there are people out there, lots of people out there who are listening, but they ain't saying a word. So I sincerely appreciate you all. And to my friend Marlon, you are the real OG, my friend. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right, guys. So that's going to be it from me for this morning. Um, I have a couple of articles that I've seen regarding Meghan and Harry that I'm going to be reading for you all. Not now, but I'll probably do a video on it later when I wake up or tomorrow because I don't know if you all saw the newest story is that they were being evicted from Frogmore Cottage. So it's almost like the royal family is actually disbanding them, just throwing them out. I mean, Frogmore Cottage was where the Queen had allowed them to live, and that place was renovated for them. And now that they have left and they're living in California, I mean, they go back there. They went back for their for Grandpa's funeral, went back for Granny's funeral, and they would expect to be going back there as other family members pass off, or for family gathering. But obviously, the the monarch thrown them out. So it's almost like if you come back here, go rent a hotel and ask for permission to enter into Kensington Palace or something like that. Boy, I guess they are teaching Harry how to be a man because they didn't teach him that before. And when I say that, not in a disrespectful way, but remember that he said he never owned a house key, never held a house key, never, none of that, royal life where he was always had police officers around and driving and that sort of thing. So now that he is living a normal life like regular people with his own house key and his own car keys and setting up his own security and watching his children and doing all that stuff, which was done for him all his life. So they might be thinking that they are doing him bad, like they're doing him wrong, that they're trying to ruffle his feathers. They're trying to do the most. But what they're actually doing is probably setting him free because he needed that freedom to thrive. Maybe that was why he had turned to hard drugs earlier because he needed to thrive. He needed to live his life and his truth rather than living in this hand me down life, if you all know what I mean. Yeah. So, so we will see as the years go by how Harry deals with being evicted from the royal family. Thank you again, guys. Thank you again for coming. I sincerely appreciate you all. And that's going to be it from me for today. Until next time, my friends, this is Trev from Travestance, where your journey matters. We will talk again later or tomorrow, my friends. Have yourselves a great day.